So the description of the universes, according to the Bhagavatam, there's a lot more going on than just balls of matter floating around in empty space. A lot more going on. Prabhupada's commentary. Sometimes we see a picture of Lord Shiva engaged in meditation. This verse explains that Lord Shiva is always meditating upon Lord Shankarshan in trance. Lord Shiva is in charge of the destruction of the material world. Lord Brahma creates the material world, Lord Vishnu maintains it, and Lord Shiva destroys it. Because destruction is in the mode of ignorance, Lord Shiva and his worshipful deity, Shankarshan, are technically called tamasi. Lord Shiva is the incarnation of Tamagun. Since both Lord Shiva and Shankarshan are always enlightened and situated in the transcendental position, they have nothing to do with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. But because their activities involve them with the mode of ignorance, they're sometimes called tamasi. So that's their service to the Lord, is they come in contact with they're involved with the mode of ignorance, although they're not in ignorance. Maybe something like the warden in the prison. He's dealing with the prison, but he's not a prisoner. Text 17. The most powerful, this is his mantra, the most powerful Lord Shiva says, let's see if I can do the Sanskrit. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Sarvaguna Sankhya Nanayanta Yavyakta Nama Iti. Translation, the most powerful Lord Shiva says, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you in your expansion as Lord Shankarshan. You're the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Although you're unlimited, you remain unmanifest to the non-devotees. Text 18. Looks like a continuation of his mantra. And it's a lot of Sanskrit that I'm not familiar with. So, O my Lord, you are the only worshipful person, for you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all opulences. Your secure lotus feet are the only source of protection for all your devotees, whom you satisfy by manifesting yourself in various forms. O my Lord, you deliver your devotees from the clutches of material existence. Non-devotees, however, remain entangled in material existence by your will. Kindly accept me as your eternal servant. Beautiful, beautiful prayer. I'm going to read it again. It's so beautiful. O my Lord, you are the only worshipful person, for you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all opulences. Your secure lotus feet are the only source of protection for all your devotees, whom you satisfy by manifesting yourself in various forms. O my Lord, you deliver your devotees from the clutches of material existence. Non-devotees, however, remain entangled in material existence by your will. Kindly accept me as your eternal servant. And maybe the prayer continues here. We cannot control the force of our anger. Therefore, when we look at material things, we cannot avoid feeling attraction or repulsion for them. But the Supreme Lord is never affected in this way. Although he glances over the material world for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and destroying it, he's not affected even to the slightest degree. Therefore, one who desires to conquer the force of the senses must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Then he will be victorious. That may be Sukadeva Goswami speaking. I don't know if it's a continuation of Lord Shiva's prayer. Up to this point, he was directly addressing the Lord, and this verse is not actually directing the Lord, directed toward the Lord. It's just talking about the Lord, and so this may be Sukadeva Goswami. Prabhupada's commentary: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always equipped with inconceivable potencies. Although creation takes place by his glancing over the material energy, he's not affected by the modes of material nature. Because of his eternally transcendental position, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in the material world, the modes of material nature cannot affect him. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is called Transcendence, and anyone who wants to be secure from the influence of the modes of material nature must take shelter of him. When he glances over the material energy, that's when he impregnates material nature with all the living entities. But he's not affected by the material nature. He's not attracted to the material nature. When he does that, it's not that he's attracted to material energy. He sees something enjoyable there. Not at all. Text 20. For persons with impure vision, the Supreme Lord's eyes appear like those of someone who indiscriminately drinks intoxicating beverages. Thus bewildered, such unintelligent persons become angry at the Supreme Lord, and due to their angry mood, the Lord himself appears angry and very fearful. However, this is an illusion. When the wives of the serpent demons were agitated by the touch of the Lord's lotus feet, due to shyness, they could proceed no further in their worship of him. Yet the Lord remained unagitated by their touch, for he is equiposed in all circumstances. Therefore, who will not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Prabhupada's commentary: anyone who remains unagitated, even in the presence of cause for agitation, is called dhira, or equipoised. Supreme Personality of Godhead, being always in a transcendental position, is never agitated by anything. Therefore, someone who wants to become dhira must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dhiras tatra namuyati, a person who is equipoised in all circumstances is never bewildered. Prahlad Maharaj is a perfect example of a dhira. When the fierce form of Nrsingadeva appeared in order to kill Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad was unagitated. He remained calm and quiet, whereas others, including even Lord Brahma, were frightened by the features of the Lord. Equipoised in all circumstances, unagitated, by taking shelter of Krishna. Krishna's made himself available through his holy name. He can take shelter anywhere, at any time, in any circumstance, which is exactly what Prahlad did. He was taking shelter of the Lord. It's a great, great mercy of the Lord in this age. Any difficult situation, awkward situation, frightening situation, the Lord is there in His holy name. Hare Krishna. And immediately, material nature has no jurisdiction. The identification with the material body and mind dissolves, and one identifies as spirit, servant of the Lord. And there's no misery there. There's no fear. There's no anxiety there. There's the shelter. So we practice. Kali Yuga-ites are very weak, not very intelligent, memory isn't good, easily agitated. So we practice. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Should have beads and a bead bag, and should have our hand in the bead bag all the time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Text 21. Lord Shiva continued. All the great sages, so that was Lord Shiva discussing. At first he was directly addressing the Lord, and then he was discussing the situation. So he is discussing about the Lord. Lord Shiva continued. All the great sages accept the Lord as the source of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Although he actually has nothing to do with these activities. Therefore, the Lord is called unlimited. Although the Lord in his incarnation as Sesha holds all the universes on his hoods, each universe feels no heavier than a mustard seed to him. Therefore, what person desiring perfection will not worship the Lord? Prabhupada's commentary. The incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead known as Sesha or Ananta has unlimited strength, fame, wealth, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. As described in this verse, Ananta's strength is so great that the innumerable universes rest on his hoods. He has the bodily features of a snake with thousands of hoods, and since his strength is unlimited, all the universes resting on his hoods feel no heavier than mustard seeds. We can just imagine how insignificant a mustard seed is on the hood of a serpent. In this connection, the reader is referred to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 5, verses 117 to 125. There it is stated that Lord Vishnu's incarnation as the serpentine Ananta Sesha Nag supports all the universes on his hoods. By our calculation, a universe may be very, very heavy, but because the Lord is Ananta, unlimited, he feels the weight to be no heavier than a mustard seed. Get some perspective. Text 22 and 23. From that Supreme Personality of Godhead appears Lord Brahma, whose body is made from the total material energy. The reservoir of intelligence predominated by the passionate mode of material nature. From Lord Brahma, I myself am born as a representation of false ego known as Rudra. By my own power, I create all the other demigods, the 5 elements, and the senses. Whoa. Okay. By my own power, I myself am born as a representation of false ego, known as Rudra. By my own power, I create all the other demigods, the 5 elements, and the senses. Therefore, I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than any of us, and under whose control are situated all the demigods, material elements and senses, and even Lord Brahma and myself, like birds bound by a rope. Only by the Lord's grace can we create, maintain, and annihilate the material world. Therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Being. Oh. Prabhupada's commentary. A summary of creation is given in this verse. From Shankarshan, Mahavishnu expands. From Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu expands. Lord Brahma, who was born of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, fathers Lord Shiva, from whom all the other demigods gradually evolve. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu are incarnations of the different material qualities. Lord Vishnu is actually above all material qualities, but he accepts control of Sattva-gun, the mode of goodness, to maintain the universe. Lord Brahma is born from the Mahatattva. Brahma creates the entire universe. Lord Vishnu maintains it, and Lord Shiva annihilates it. The Supreme Personality of Godhead controls all the most important demigods, especially Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, exactly as the owner of a bird controls it by binding it with a rope. Sometimes vultures are controlled in this way. Wow. So sometimes we hear how the position of Lord Shiva is unique, that he's a demigod, but he's more than a demigod, and he's almost as good as Krishna. It's like he's compared to Krishna's milk, and Lord Shiva is like yogurt. Something has been added to it and turned it just a little bit into yogurt. How powerful Lord Shiva is. His position is that all the demigods gradually evolve from Lord Shiva. It says Lord Brahma, it's very specific here, the body is made from the total material energy. His body is made from the total material energy. And from Lord Brahma, I'm born as a representation of false ego, known as Rudra. That would seem to indicate that everything is within Lord Brahma. And his body is made from the total material energy. Lord Shiva is a representation of the false ego. And then Lord Shiva creates all the other demigods, the 5 elements and the senses. All right. Text 24. The illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead binds all of us conditioned souls to this material world. Therefore, without being favored by him, persons like us cannot understand how to get out of that illusory energy. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who is the cause of creation and annihilation. This is Lord Shiva speaking. All of us conditioned souls to this material world. Without being favored by him, we cannot understand how to get out. Even Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, all the demigods, as great and magnificent and powerful as they are, without being favored by the Supreme Lord. can't get out of the illusion. Prabhupada's commentary. Krishna clearly states in Bhagavad Gita, Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayamitam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. Three modes of material nature, says the divine energy. It's different from the devotional energy, but still a divine energy. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Yeah, to simply be preoccupied with the energy, but to not be conscious of the source of the energy means entangled in the energy. So those who have surrendered unto me, the source of this energy, they cross beyond it. Not bewildered, not illusioned. Krishna is the source. Without the source, without connection, a consciousness or relationship with the source, we simply flounder around in the energy. We make a connection with the source. With the owner of the energy, the controller of the energy, then no longer bewildered by it. All conditioned souls working within the illusory energy of the Lord consider the body to be the self, and thus they continuously wander throughout the universe, taking birth in different species of life, creating more and more problems. Sometimes they become disgusted with the problems and seek out a process by which they can get out of this entanglement. Unfortunately, such so-called research workers are unaware of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His illusory energy, and thus all of them work only in darkness, never finding a way out. So-called scientists and advanced research scholars are ludicrously trying to find the cause of life. They take no notice of the fact that life is already being produced. What will be their credit if they find out a chemical composition of life? All their chemicals are nothing but different transformations of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the living entity is never created. Najayate mriyate va kadachin. There are 5 gross material elements and 3 minor material elements: mind, intelligence, and ego. And there are eternal living entities. The living entity desires a certain type of body, and by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that body is created from material nature, which is nothing but a kind of machine handled by the Supreme Lord. The Lord gives the living entity a particular type of mechanical body, and the living entity must work with it according to the law of fruitive activities. Fruitive activities are described in this verse. Karma pamanim mayam. The living entity is seated on a machine, the body. According to the order of the Supreme Lord, He operates the machine. This is the secret of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. The living entity thus becomes entangled in fruitive activities in the material world. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Manak Shastanindriyani Prakriti-stani Karshati. The living entity is struggling very hard against the 6 senses, which include the mind. All the activities of creation and annihilation, the living entity is entangled in fruitive activities, which are executed by the illusory energy Maya. He is exactly like a computer, handled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The so-called scientists say that nature acts independently, but they cannot explain what nature is. Nature is nothing but a machine operated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one understands the operator, his problems of life are solved. Yeah. It's a machine operated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one understands the operator, then the machine is no longer a problem with the machine. Not bewildered by the machine. As anyone who's just starting to learn how to use a computer, I'm pretty sure this is the case for everyone, knows what kind of problems you can get into by pushing the wrong buttons. Clicking one little click on the wrong thing, and oh my goodness, you can make a terrible mess out of everything. And then it's hours and hours and hours of trying to straighten it out and find out what you did wrong. But when you know how to operate the machine, it's no problem. There's no problem. Operates very nicely, no problem. So material nature is like that. Bahunam jamanamante jnanavamam prapadyate Vyāsadeva savarmiti samahatma sadurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. A sane man, therefore, surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus gets out of the clutches of the illusory energy, Maya. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th Canto, 17th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Descent of the River Ganges.